So find your seat, kind of roll the shoulders, turn the head a little bit to find the neck, and notice what is present for you, that it is perfect in all of its wholeness as we integrate. You might bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly, or just rest the hands in the lap. The hands on the body might start to attune you to the breath a little bit. And also just kind of connecting with, where do you sense your core or your center? I'm not talking about the abdominals, the kind of the depth of you. The part that when things do get off kilter, that's where you notice it. And it might be different all the time, but maybe for today. And perhaps even giving yourself a mantra. I referenced in one of my posts about the elephant trunk holding a bamboo stick or a lotus flower to kind of direct the mind. And maybe here that is done with a mantra, a word, a couple of words, just to kind of give the mind something to hold. Anything. I'm here, so hum the word Om. Sound Om in you. And kind of invocation. And then just repeat it in your mind's eye. Let it be following the rhythm of your breath to some degree. As you arrive in your body. And then let that set the stage for just what's directing the mind as we move into a bit of stillness and quiet. And just breathing. You, your mantra, your body, your wholeness. At least 5 to 10 more breath cycles. When you're ready to start to stir a little bit, you might free the jaw, and if you have the hands on the body, you can release them and kind of shrug the shoulders. Move off of whatever it is that you're seated on, if you're seated on anything, and come onto the back, bringing a block with you. Come down onto your back body. And you can lay down for a second, or you can come right into propping yourself up onto your elbow points. So like you're at the beach or something, and you're just looking out at the ocean, giving yourself a second to tuck the elbows underneath you. Now pull the belly back, and then start to lift the upper spine right into the upper sternum. If you get a sense of that, just opening the chest, lifting the back of the heart into the front of the heart, and then begin to shift your gaze up. So fish pose, Matsyasana, but a very gentle version with the gaze going up. You don't have to let the head fall back unless, of course, it's really calling to you and that feels good. And anytime you want to start your music, of course, at this point, feel free to do that. Breathing into the heads of the shoulders and kind of feeling into the center of the heart, lifting it up towards the ceiling or the sky if you're outside. And then just gaze down towards your toes again and start to draw your knees in towards your chest. Take a nice big inhale with the knees in towards the chest. And as you exhale, can you send the legs long out in front of you and look up again? And then inhale, draw it in. So you're working through the core and you can feel the hip flexors. As you exhale, the legs go long and you look up. Inhale, draw in, maybe looking towards the knees. Exhale, legs go long. And just keep going like that. Inhaling and exhaling. If this feels really uncomfortable to be down on the elbows and the shoulders feel too tight, you could do this with the hands on the ground and then just kind of opening and closing with the elbows dipping, okay? So listen to what's coming up and what you're feeling and what you're sensing, and really make sure you give yourself what you need and don't force it. Okay, do a few more of those. Eventually the knees will draw in, you'll set your feet down, and we'll all bring the hands to the mat, fingers facing the glutes, and pop up into a table pose. Or an upward table pose. So you're lifting your hips up, driving down through the thumbs and the index fingers, feeling that connection to Hasta Bandha. And then set it down. So the hips come down. We'll move into Navasana. Okay, and you can start with the knees bent and the arms just out in front of you in a boat. And so this is about this returning to center, right? Kind of finding center. And so of course, we're working with the center of our being, maybe the navel just below that. So you can float your feet up, Navasana. And just breathing with that. And you can try with me, taking the arms over the head, staying in this boat, maybe even straightening the legs a little bit. And then we're gonna tap toes alternating. So inhale and exhale, tap toes. Inhale and exhale, tap toes. And you can kind of move with the breath just one side at a time, but reaching through the tips of the fingers to pull the spine long, pull the belly in. So as you do this, you might feel a meeting at center with the front body to the back body. So really reaching with the fingertips. Of course, if it feels like too much, the arms can come down to shoulder height. So keep moving, tapping, breathing. And we'll go 3. And we'll go 2. Good, lift the heart. And 1, and release. And this time, upward facing table again, with the option of one leg at a time, straightening it out towards Purvottanasana. So you can keep the hips lifted and just straightening one leg at a time and really grounding through that long-legged foot, lifting the hips. And then you can come back to 2 knees bent and then switch sides and lift that up. And then we'll slowly, 2 feet side by side, knees bent, set it down. When you come down, hopefully you have a block. If not, you can make do without the block, but take the block with you as you come onto the back, laying all the way down. All right, so come all the way down. Now knees are bent. You're gonna take the block and place it under your left foot. So it's lengthwise, the length of your foot, and you'll place the block right under just your left foot. And then hug your right knee in using your hands to kind of pull the knee into the chest. Keep that sensation of the knee hugging in. And just take your arms long down by your sides. So we're gonna pick it up like a bridge, but keeping the legs as they are, okay? So palms down, arms are long, and you've got the left foot on the block and the right knee hugged in. Now lift your hips up. Lift them up as high as they'll go, and keep hugging the right knee in. And then at the top of the range, we're gonna go up and down about 20 times. So a little tiny pulse, pulse, pulse. Keep going, breathe. Keep going. Little tiny pulses. I got 8 more. Keep hugging the right knee in. 3, 2, and 1. Now listen, your hips are up. See if you can, with your right hand, reach to capture the top of your right foot. Your right heel bone is hugged in towards the sitting bone. If at any point you need to look up here, you can. We're gonna tuck the right foot underneath us. That can be done 2 ways. You can set the ball mound down so the heel bone stays in towards the sitting bone. The right knee moves forward and you set the ball mound down. Look up here if that's confusing. Or you can bring the top of the foot to the mat. Stretch out the top of the foot. Sometimes that can cause a little cramping, so just be mindful if you need to release it or go back to that just ball mound connected. And then once you have the heel bone towards the sitting bone, really lift your hips up and get that nice quad and hips flexor stretch. Okay? One more breath in. As you breathe out, you can free the right foot. Slowly lower the hips back down. Take a figure four with your left ankle over your right thigh. Left ankle, right thigh. And then hug that in. Okay, seal the low back to the mat. Take a moment to kind of come back into all that is present for you. Sometimes the mind is going towards the movements. Can you settle back into just a little bit more of a clear slate? Until we go on to the other side. So you can free the figure four, you can move the block over so that it's in place for the right foot. Then just hug the left knee in so you find that same sensation of knee hugged in. Releasing just the arms down by the sides, but the knees still hugged in. Then push up and lift up. Keep the knee really hugging in, like you had your hands wrapped and you were pulling it. And then lift and lower. So just at the top of the range there, lifting and lowering. Keeping your hips relatively level. There's some asymmetry, so you might notice one's a little higher than the other, but just kind of finding that and working into the core, which is including the abdominals, the hip muscles, and also around the spine. Keep going. 7, 3, 2, stay at the up on 1, and then heel is on the left heel is drawing towards the sitting bone. Can you reach around and capture the top of the foot and create that same sort of tucking under? So either the ball mound, or if you liked it with the top of the foot, you might try it over here, see if that works. Pushing through the top of the foot to lift the hip up. If you get the cramping, like I just did, you can come back to the ball mound, should help free it. But lift the hips up and really get into the top of the quads and the hip flexors up there, the hip crease. When you're ready to come out, you can free that leg, free the foot, set it down and cross your right ankle up and over your left thigh. And then draw in this figure four, reclined half pigeon. And then happy baby. So when you unwind, you can take an Andabalasana, your way, capturing the outer edges, the inner edges are behind the knees. And then take your legs straight up, Viparita Karani, and arms over the head, so they're laying on the ground behind you. Okay, just kind of stretch out, let the ankles be heavy over the hips and massaging kind of the sacral palate. And then you're going to bend your knees, letting them fall into the chest, keeping the arms over the head. Okay, take an inhale here. As you exhale, let the arms come down by your sides, palms turn down. They'll float a couple inches away from the earth. Then straighten your legs and lift your chest up. Okay, so you're now looking down the length of your legs. You might even pull the chin away from the chest just a little bit. Now, can you open your legs wide, ankles far away from each other as they'll come? And then bring the legs back together. We'll do this a bunch so you'll get it. As you inhale, draw the knees back in and the arms over the head. Okay, this is a super fun one that I did in Angelina's class yesterday, and I was like, oh, I'm stealing that, sister, so you guys are in luck. Draw the knees in, take a big inhale as you reach through the fingertips, the arms are over the head. As you exhale, the legs go long, you start to lift your chest up, bring the arms down by the sides, look towards your toes, then open the legs wide. Bring them back together, inhale, arms over the head and knees in. Now you know, exhale, the legs go long, the arms come down, you lift the chest, you open the legs. And then draw back together, inhale, come back. Now notice, if you can, as you keep moving like this, exhaling out, can you seal the low back to the mat? Okay, inhaling, drawing in, arms over the head, seal the low back, keep it sealed. As you now stretch the legs long, bring the arms down, seal the low back, open the legs. All right, so really keep an awareness, if you can, on the lower back and the arch that wants to be created, but you're kind of resisting that a little bit. or a lot. And we get one more. Can you do one more? And then hug the knees into the chest when you're ready. You can bring the arms to hold them and even rock a little bit from side to side. Your mantra, you might come back to it. So anytime you start to notice, okay, I'm not doing something, she's not directing my mind into the movements, then maybe your mind starts to go to lunge or something. Come back. And we'll rock up to a seated position just to transition. Take your block with you to laying down on the belly. You want your block with you. So legs long behind you. Take the block in your hands, holding the short ends. And then reach your arms out in front of you, resting your head down. So you're holding the block. Think Superwoman, Superman. Keep your forehead resting down. Okay, so keep the forehead down. And then lift the arms and legs. You're holding the block. So you're lifting the block in the hands. You're lifting the legs, but the head stays down. Hold that for 5. Then we're just going to lift the head up. 4. Keep the arms and legs up. 3. 2. Keep the block, legs and arms lifted. 1. Lift the head up. Just look towards the block. And then inhale, lift a little higher. As you exhale, set it down. And we're going to keep going. Inhale, lift up. And then exhale, set it down. Inhale, lift up. And then exhale and set it down. You can keep going like that. Inhaling and exhaling. Let's get 2 more. Inhale. So to support the core, we also work in the back. Inhaling and exhaling, contracting into the lower back muscles. And then release it. Now bend your elbows, bring them under like Sphinx pose. I'm going to keep the block and bring the J shape of my hands into the corners of the block. And then place that back down. So not totally necessary, but it gives us a spatial awareness. And you can tuck the elbows underneath you. So the elbows right behind the wrists. J shape with the hand into the corners of the block. The legs long behind you. And then push off through the tops of your feet. The elbows. See if you can move the upper spine into the upper sternum. So meaning the heart, back of the heart into the front of the heart. There's a little pushing forward and then up. Couple of breaths. Sphinx pose. It's going to turn into forearm plank. You can keep the block as it is. Walk your toes under so you're on the ball mounds of your feet. And now pick up the thighs and hips. Push off through the elbows and just move into a forearm plank. Okay, you're pulling in opposite directions. So think of your inner ankles drawing back. And I'm gently tugging your upper or your clavicles gently forward, and they're broadening. Okay, stay and breathe, and then start to turn it into dolphin pose. So when you're ready, you can keep your gaze towards your thumbs or the block and just walk the feet in a little bit. Feel free to bend the knees as much as you need to, keeping the hip creases lifting up and back and pushing off through the elbows. And as you investigate this early in the practice, so it's early for a dolphin, just notice the tightness, where you feel it, what's here, and maybe move forward and back a little bit so that you feel the front of the shoulder, the back of the shoulder, just shifting the weight forward and back. And then see if it feels okay. Just shorten so you walk your feet a little closer to your elbows, just a little shorter stance. Even bring the big toes to touch each other at the back of the mat and kind of look towards them. Can you lift your right leg all the way up to the sky? And then can you bend that knee and just circle your right knee around in the air? If that's feeling okay to you, you might see about taking your right leg straight out to the right. This is going to wake some stuff up that you might not feel very often. And then take the right leg back up, bend the knee scorpion. And we'll release down to table pose on the forearms. All right, so once you get that, give yourself a break. And do some cat-cow on the forearms. Let your belly drop, let your tail lift, chin rises. And then curl the other way. Look towards your navel or your hip creases. Inhale. And exhale. Maybe that's even your mantra. It's just inhale and exhale. And then come back to forearm plank. Step the feet back. Okay, find your center. If at any point you need anything from me, please do put it in the chat box. Since I can't hear you, I'll come and check it periodically and make sure you guys are doing good. I see you. I know you're in a forearm plank. Dolphin pose on the forearms, right? So it's down dog on the forearms. Yeah. Maybe a little forward and back. You might notice a little more openness happening. Good, Melissa. Yes. And then take your left leg up into the sky if you can, if it feels comfortable, safe. And maybe bend the knee and see if you can make some circles there, just awakening. And then if that felt all right, maybe take the left leg straight out to the side. So the inner thigh is kind of hovering over the edge of the left edge of your mat. And then you can go to scorpion to free it and open it up. And come back down, hands and knees. But this time, holding onto the block, okay? So you're on your hands and knees. Take the short edges of the block in your hands, like you did in Superman. And keep the hold of the block and just come into child's pose. So your knees wide, hips back, forehead can come down. And so holding onto the block, we're gonna bring the block to the upper back and then back down to the earth. You're just hinging at the elbows, keeping a hold of the block and pushing the elbows into the earth. You're gonna bring the block to the upper back, the neck, and then back down to the earth. So just find that subtle movement. Maybe it's not so subtle. For me, I really feel it. You can just notice what you need there. And eventually just resting in a child's pose. So you can let the block go, let your hands connect with the earth, maybe part the fingers wide. And the maybes are there for a reason. I really want you to feel as though it's an investigation of what you have present with you in your own form. And there's suggestions of things that might feel good and they might not. As you feel ready, pull yourself forward to table pose and then press back to downward facing dog. You might want to make sure you have your blocks up towards the top of the mat, block or blocks up towards the top of the mat. And pedal it out. Notice what has already in this period of time together opened up for you. Focusing on movement and malleability, bringing in balance. And when you're ready for an inhalation, just come forward to plank pose. And when you exhale, bring your right knee over to your right elbow or tricep. And then we're going to kind of windshield wiper. So inhale, right knee to left elbow or tricep. And then as you exhale, go back over to the right. And do that a bunch of times. Inhaling, exhaling, side to side. Eventually, we'll come to scorpion downward dog, taking the right leg up and back and then peeling open. Nice big inhalation will bring you there. When you're ready for an exhalation, you can just step forward into a lunge position with the hands down. Feel free to use your blocks here if it's helpful. Little cat-cow lunging. Dip your hips, lift your heart. Full inhale. You can straighten the forward leg. Maybe rounding in and over it, and then just flow between those two shapes. So fluidity, malleability, accessibility. Where there might be resistance, we could invite a little bit of movement. And eventually, as you're exhaling back, we'll inhale the left leg into the air into a halfway lift. So grounding the right foot, take the left leg all the way up. You're in a halfway lift and your left leg is extended behind you. Full inhale to lengthen. As you exhale, Shiva squat is just tucking the left knee in and behind the right one. And squeezing through the inner thighs. Can you bring your hands to your heart center and balance for a moment? So find your center there. And then halfway lift, left leg in the air, fill up. When you set your left foot down, into a forward fold. Have it about hips width from your right foot. And then you're in Uttanasana. We're going to slide the block in between the thighs. So if you have a block, if not, you can just have that energy or awareness as if there were a block there. Your feet are about hips width. Block in between the thighs, Utkatasana. So inner energy, like inward energy towards your center line as you sit low and take the arms up. Fierce pose. You just kind of find your feet. Find that center of gravity. Hold the belly back and feel that energy of squeezing the block. Take a full inhalation, and as you exhale, tilt the torso forward. Keep squeezing the block and fly the arms behind you. So as you squeeze the block, we're starting to build a drinking bird where you pop up onto the ball mounds of your feet, the heels lift. If that's too much, you can always set them back down. So when you're ready, pick up the heels, squeeze the block. Start to let your nose move towards the earth as your pinky fingers rise up and back behind you. Stay and breathe, squeezing the block. Next, it's heels down and we'll stand tall. Keep the block there for now. Inhale, squeeze the block as you come all the way up, Urdhva Hastasana. And then fold forward and release the block. You're just in a forward fold Uttanasana. Ardha Uttanasana, lengthen, crown forward. A little bit of space in the spine, and then step to plank pose, okay? Hold your plank. Nice big inhale, push them out away as you exhale, left knee, left elbow. And then go to the right elbow, inhale, and back to the left elbow. So here you go side to side, a little windshield wipering. A little bit of rotation of the spine as you cross under the body, and a lot of core awareness. Eventually, it's scorpion with a big old inhale. And then the exhale can step the foot forward. Feel free to pull the blocks in. Okay, dipping the hips. Inhale, lift the heart. As you exhale, the forward leg can move towards a straightened position, a little cat-cow lunging. Good. Now flow. Ha. So explore it. You know, you might even have the back knee bent. We do that sometimes in my classes where the back knee stays bent and you're just kind of moving on rails back and forth. But you play, you move, and you invite in the synovial fluids, the fluidity in general. Eventually, launching right leg into the air. Level the hips, so find that sense of right hip gently dropping, but the inner seam of the thigh lifting. So inward rotation, neutral. Take a breath in as you breathe out. Right knee tucks in and behind the left. Shiva squat. Squeeze the inner thighs. Look forward. Can you bring your hands to your heart center? And then hands back to the blocks of the earth. Right leg into the air. Feet about hips width apart. Forward fold. Hang your head. And then bring the block in between the thighs. Come to chair, Utkatasana, fierce pose. Squeeze the block, take the arms up. Sit a little bit lower and really engage through the inner thighs. Okay, see if here you can physically feel for the most center or core part of yourself. And we'll take a full inhale as you exhale. Keep squeezing the block, fly the arms, tilt the torso forward. Squeeze the block, see if you can pick up your heels. Nice big breath in. Listen, keep the heels lifted, drop the nose, lift the pinky fingers. And then heels down, stand tall. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana, release the block down. Halfway lift as you breathe in, and anything that gets you back to down dog could be Chaturanga Dandasana. Pass through Chaturanga to belly down. Cobra or up dog, if you feel ready for that and it's interesting. We'll meet back in downward facing dog. Beautiful. And now take your right leg up and back behind you. And bring your knee in to tap your nose. And then send the leg long and up and back behind you again. Step forward, cat-cow lunging. So dip your hips as you lift your heart. And that forward leg moves towards a straightened position as you round the spine. Then take halfway lift with your left leg in the air. We're not going to use the blocks here at all. Shiva squat, hands at heart. So top hand, squeeze inner thighs, adduction. And then half lift, leg in the air. 2 feet side by side, forward fold. So you can have your feet together if you wish. No block, Utkatasana. Inhale, come up. Right to drinking bird. So fly your arms and pick up your heels, squeezing in towards the midline. Notice the challenge and difference. And then heels down, Urdhva Hastasana. Come all the way up. As you exhale, fold forward. And now lengthen into halfway lift and step your left foot back behind you. Left foot back, the legs are setting up for warrior one, but we're going to stay low with the torso for now. So in other words, right hip still pulling back, orienting the hips and torso towards the top of the mat, and the back heel is down. Once you find your feet and your legs, stream the arms forward. Imagine there's a block in between your hands. Hug your right hip back and in. Find some space with the side necks around the base of the skull. Take an inhale. Just take the arms behind you so the torso doesn't really move at all. Breathe here. Find your legs. Find your belly. Right hip back and in. And now warrior one, so just reach straight up and give yourself a little bit of spinal extension. So as you come through straight up, maybe you go back just a little bit. Breathe in. And then warrior two to the back of your mat. We're going to pivot, right toes in, left toes turn towards the back edge, and drop into warrior two. All right, so I'll have my back to you just for a little bit. You can feel into inner thighs as they're parting. We've been doing all this energy inward. Just kind of countering that a little bit. When you're ready for an inhale, reverse your warrior. Right hand can trickle down the right leg, left arm up and back. Notice what feels nice on the neck. So explore what feels good to the arms, shoulders. You can play full inhale and then extended side angle. Okay, so you might go grab your block to the inner left foot. Might bring an elbow to the thigh. Could even bring your hand to the nape of your neck with that right hand and peel open, getting a little more sense of rotation, tucking the left hip under the right. When we come up, we're coming up to goddess altar pose. Okay, so when you're ready, come up, bring your feet a little closer together, toes out, heels in. Bend the knees. And then rest one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. So I'm going to turn to the side just so you can see me. And there's a feeling of inner thighs towards outer thighs, and the sacrum is just dropping towards the earth. Okay? You feel the front body meet the back body. If you close your eyes, and you feel a little bit of movement of your body trying to assimilate and figure out where you are in space. Be with that and kind of wobbles that are present. Find where that stabilizes for you. And then take your arms straight up. You can open the eyes and pop up onto your ball mounts as you sit a little deeper. We're going to take a breath in. We're hinging right at the hip creases if you can. As you breathe out, keep inner thighs pressing towards outer thighs and just drop the body down. Heels are up if you can. Inhale, come back up. As you exhale, come down. Last one, inhale, come back up. Last one to come down, exhale. And then heels down, stand all the way up so you can straighten the legs. Then we're turning towards the front of the mat. Listen before you go anywhere for triangle pose. So just turn your right toes forward and fold your left toes in a little bit, the heel out. Begin to make your way into Trikonasana. Right arm down, left arm high. You don't have to come really deep, maybe even sliding the block on its high end. To play with Utthita Trikonasana. And I will ask you if you have a block to be using the block when we go to half moon, because we'll play with taking the leg out in front of us, kind of like what we were, it's a different sensation because we have the orientation of the hips in a different way, in a different place. And we are going to play with the balance a little bit, so the block will be handy if you have one. So to move to half moon from triangle, bring your left hand onto your left hip. Begin to look towards the ground. If you don't have a block under your right hand, go ahead and grab it. Place it under the right hand about a foot or so out in front of your right toes, and then launch into Ardha Chandrasana. Establish yourself, right? So set your gaze. Find that stick of bamboo or the lotus flower to capture the drishti, right? Inside, outside. And then you can stay like this, or you can try taking your left leg out in front of your navel, like right hovering over the left edge of the mat. Whew, it fires up some different things, right? Come back to half moon, and then it's half splits with the, or excuse me, half lift with the left leg in the air. So you can square off, keep your left leg in the air. Hands can come down to the earth in the block. Big breath in, Shiva squat, and then let your left knee travel all the way down until it hits the earth just behind or to the outer part of your right ankle. Setting up for a seated twist, so you can come all the way down. Right hand behind you, left arm up, and rotate to the right. And can you close your eyes and be in the stillness? So for a moment, as we've been moving, just be in the settling of the white caps if they were tousled. Now, how do we find meditation? It's just by simply doing, and this is of course a moving meditation, but even when we're not moving through asana, it's in the watching and the letting that the mind will quiet itself. Just in the being. Get a counter of this twist to the left. So you can keep the legs as they are and just upper body to the left and bow in. And then we go for some challenge and play. So the block, hopefully you have the block there. What I'm going to do is come from this place into warrior three. I want the block in between my hands though. All right, so I'm kind of coming up. I'm going to set myself up. I still have my right foot at the middle of the mat, and I'm using my left knee as a prop. And then the block, holding the short ends, is out in front of me like that Superman. I'm going to push off with my right leg and float my left leg into the air as I create a capital letter T with my body, my left leg, over that right leg. Center, breathe for 5. Level off 4. Forward fold is next in 3, in 2, and 1. Release the block down, hands down, left foot next to the right. Now, just because it feels good to me, and maybe that means it'll translate to you too, let your left leg be your standing leg. Take your right leg into the air and scorpion from this forward fold. So your right heel bone falls towards your left sitting bone. If it feels good, you can even reach around with the left hand and capture, okay? Explore different things with a little back bend, with the knee rising and the heel bone drawn in. You can get a nice deep stretch. And then we'll release in forward fold. Okay, then create halfway lift. And go through Chaturanga Dandasana. Good. Yeah. Oh, good, I love it. You got the kids there too. Chaturanga Dandasana will meet in downward dog dancing. All right, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Good, Sasha. Really lifting the hip creases up and back so you feel that low back broaden. Mm-hmm. Take your left leg way up and back. Curl the knee into the nose and tap it. So get really into a little ball. And then take the left leg way up and back. And step the left foot forward in between the hands. Let the hips get heavy as you dip them low and lift the chin and the heart. And then that cow or that cat lunge where you straighten the forward leg and you round the spine, forehead towards your knee. And then we'll launch the right leg into the air. Take halfway lift with the right leg up. Here's that little Shiva squat with your hands at the heart, so balancing. Then take the leg into the air. Feet side by side, forward fold. And now you can bend your knees into fierce pose Utkatasana. Fly the arms, drinking bird, heel bones lift up as much as you can. And then stand tall, Urdhva Hasta, upward salute. Bow forward, exhaling into Uttanasana. Long spine, inhale, front body meets back body, step your right foot back. And prepare the warrior legs, right? Back heel down, just kind of establishing the foundation. Then we build from there, so you can pull your left hip back and in, arms forward. Strong through the legs, strong through the belly, strong through the hips. Nice inhale as you exhale, fly the arms back. And then inhale, come up, warrior one. Nice big inhale, maybe some extension. As you exhale, turn to warrior two at the back of your mat. And let the arms just fall down like they're gonna land on the surface of water at shoulder height. Good, yeah. Now inhale to reverse warrior. So when you're ready for an inhale, gather it up, fill your lungs and pull back. Breathe, exhaling, staying. Nice big inhalation. As you exhale, extended side angle. And the explorations that you did on the other side. So any binding, hand behind the head. And we're coming up, goddess, or altar pose. So a little shorter stance, sit low. Maybe you remember which hand was on the belly. There might be one that feels like the more natural one, and perhaps switch it up. Close your eyes. Maybe it feels different, it could. Sit a little bit lower, inner thighs to outer thighs, sacral palate is just softening down. Open the eyes, take the arms up, pick up your heels. Exhale, hinge at the hips, bring the body down, inner thighs towards outer thighs. Come back up, balancing, playing with the balance. Stay with the heels high, inner thighs to outer thighs, bow. Let's get one more. The next time, as you come up, you can set the heels down and just, ooh, it feels good to straighten the legs. And then set up for triangle towards the top. Left toes turn forward, right heel pivots out, so you neutralize the back leg, back hip. And come on in. I'm grabbing my block right away. Use it if it serves you. And what feels good here? Good, beautiful. Now that we're going to Ardha Chandrasana. And so I'm bringing my right hand onto my hip just to notice what the play is with the hips. Noticing where they want to go and kind of keeping them level, one on top of the other. Block under the left hand, you can float the right leg up. Right arm to the sky if you wish. Set your gaze. Right leg can go out in front of you. You can play with that. So even if it throws you off. You get one more big breath in, back to your half moon with the leg behind you. And then half lift with the right leg in the air. So full inhale, and then Shiva squat's gonna turn into that seated twist. So you can just descend the right knee all the way down the calf muscle till it meets with the floor. Sitting back, twisting to the left this time. Left hand behind you, right arm can go up. Rotate. And then still the waters. Front body meets back body. Evenly, energetically. I'm here now, I am. One more breath in, and then we'll counter twist to the right side, so you can just keep the legs as they are. Upper body rotates, bring it down, kind of bow in a little. And then know that you're going towards a warrior 3 with the block in the hands, if you're using the block. And so you kind of find your ground, know where you're going. Okay, pick yourself up a bit, bring the right knee where it's supporting you and stabilizing you so that you can get the block. And then launch yourself. Left leg is the standing leg this time into Virabhadrasana 3. For 5, level off the hips, drive through the heel, reach forward with the hands that block. 2 more. Forward fold when you're ready. Right foot meets the left. And then we switch, so the right leg is the standing leg, and you can take the left leg into that scorpion shape. We might start with the halfway lift leg out, and then you bend the knee and fold it open. You can stay here, or you can bind hand to foot. When you release, 2 feet side by side, come down into a tiny little squat. Have your knees in or take Bakasana, crow. Okay, so you might just want to hang out here and just let the front body collapse into the thighs as you expand the back body. If Bakasana is more your pace, hands about shoulders width, fan the fingers, wrap the elbow points in, set the knees on the triceps just above the elbows. Shift the weight forward, gaze forward, and curl. So you really want to feel like almost like you have somebody gently pressing a soccer ball into your belly. Tip the weight forward, and maybe float the feet. Bakasana, or just that nice little squat, might feel delicious. Good. And then when you come out, go ahead and make your way onto your back body. Yeah. As you come down, take the block and place it underneath your hips. So bridge, set up bridge, but we're gonna use it for something else. So for this, block is, for me, it's on the shortest or the lowest level. So it's the lowest, broadest level. And then you can play with what feels right to you. Okay, I'm gonna bring my left leg into happy baby. And then I might leave the right leg just as it is, or straighten it out, or come into Baddha Konasana with that leg. So one of my legs likes this better than the other. And you might just notice Baddha Konasana, meaning the sole of the foot is towards the midline of the mat, and the knee falls wide. So you have kind of a supported sacrum, half happy baby and half Baddha Konasana. So the asymmetry, you can notice, it could be the right leg is long instead, or whatever feels better to you. Now whatever you took, if there's another side, so for me I've got 2 sides to do, so I'm going to go to the other side here. And you can let this be what you need it to be. And then we'll get another psoas stretch. For this, I'll have you come back so you kind of finish that other side off. I'm going to go up onto the next higher tier of my block. So you can check in with this if you need to go lower, or even sometimes stacking 2 blocks is pretty awesome if you're needing it. I'm gonna hug my right knee into my chest and straighten the left leg out, hovering the heel just a smidge away from the ground. So to the point where you almost feel it tickling the floor is gonna give you, at least for me, it gives me the most stretch in the psoas. And tracing the line of the psoas, you might have the toes just slightly externally turned, so the leg is externally rotated. And then switch sides. Okay, so make this your own, and maybe it's just a supported bridge if this doesn't feel good. And when you're ready to come out, you can pick up the hips and move the block away. And let yourself be captured or feel that sense of releasing to the earth and then blanketing yourself, like that gravitational pull. Let it kind of feel the drama of that after you've been lifted and moving. And if you feel ready, you could come right into your final resting posture. As you receive the final moments of your practice, tethering the mind to breath or mantra or sensation, an idea of concentration, one-pointed concentration, dharana. Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks inside or who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Just feel into that part of yourself that today you identified as kind of the core, the center of your being as you are in this time. Take a few deep breaths. Honoring yourself, this body that carries you from the feet to the crown to the tips of the fingers, everything in the contained you and the surrounding energy of you. You might start to spread your fingers wide and even fan your toes and kind of stretch the webbing as far as you can, and then curl them into little fists, and then circle wrists and ankles. You can take the arms over the head to stretch really long away from your toes if that feels good, eventually making your way onto one side so that you can press yourself up to a seated position, just to close the practice together. You can sit on a block if you wish, a pillow or something. Just kind of the upright version of you. Standing tall. Working towards this greater realm of acceptance of all the different shades. Becoming more awake and aware as we look. Without looking, we have no ability to see. And so we look and we discover. And we make incremental refinements. Meet your hands in front of your heart or rest them over the heart. Recognizing the beauty that is this moment because we have the breath in our lungs. I thank you so much for showing up and practicing. And I bow to each one of you. Thank you so much. Namaste.